Welcome back to my channel, and welcome to my prototype for Room 302 Escape from Nowhere. This is basically unofficial Silent Hill, since Konami just doesn't seem to want to make any money on the franchise anymore. In this game, you've basically found yourself sucked into Silent Hill, but you're more on the nowhere side of things, where nothing really seems to make sense. The terrifying town seems even more eerie, as things aren't like you remembered when you visited on a trip sometime in the distant past. It was practically a lifetime ago, yet here you are again. But the world feels alien, rearranged and twisted before your very eyes. You knew something was wrong from the moment you awoke out of the dream. It was a safe place, a school somewhere in the distance. You decide that with nothing else really to go on, it's worth a try. To begin the game, I'm going to start by choosing one of these three characters. Each of them has a special ability that's hopefully going to help with the survival aspect of this trip, as well as a special card that's going to get slotted into their mind deck. The mind deck is basically the brains of the operations. It's going to stay face up over the course of the game, and basically represents what's the most current thought or emotion on a conscious level. Think of it as the forefront of the mind. Most of these cards will provide either a number or an ability, but not all of them will be helpful. In the face of such horrifying circumstances, shock and fear, even terror, will not be out of the question. Some of these thoughts will actively hamper you, while others are the stronger traits that can sometimes bubble up under difficult conditions. Courage, luck, fortitude, these are the traits that bloom in the survivor. Most of these cards only have one side, one face, but the character ability cards are special. It's the innate potential of the character to be able to do something amazing. In game terms, these cards have two sides because they have different levels. Level 1 provides a pretty strong ability, but level 2 cards are much more powerful. Once the special card shows up, before it's discarded, it's going to flip to the other side, basically charging up and giving you an even better ability the second time around. Once I've chosen a character card and shuffled in their special card, I'm also going to randomly shuffle in a weakness card. These are basically character flaws, something that kind of comes along with the character, some kind of baggage, because, you know, everyone visiting Silent Hill has some kind of baggage. These can be pretty terrible, and when one shows up at the top of your deck, it automatically plays, hampering you for the rest of the round, generally. My character will be starting out with stamina equal to the number shown here, and we'll also start with the knife, a weak but helpful weapon. It has 2 durability, and once it's out, it can be replenished by completing an encounter card with this particular symbol. I'm going to place a marker on the weapon and the tracking card to make sure that I know how much ammo or durability each weapon has. You might notice that I'm using a Netrunner click card. I'm a really big Netrunner fan, and this particular card just seems to work really well for this game. You'll also notice that each character has a special ability, and this can be used once per encounter card. I'm going to keep this ability in mind, as it can really help out in the right circumstances. With the character phase settled, we're going to go ahead and choose the location, and since there's only one location, which is Midwich, I'm going to go ahead and select that along with the lizard boss card. I'm going to go ahead and place the rest of the tokens that I didn't use for stamina next to the location card. As I complete encounter cards that have these particular symbols, I'm going to be able to use the tokens to mark them. That way I can keep track of my progress in the story. Once all of the symbols have been covered, I'll be shuffling the lizard boss card into the encounter deck, where I will then attempt to search and find it and take it out. Then I can escape. Next, we're going to go ahead and take this trigger card and place it day side up beneath the location card. As we go through the encounters, the cards we don't face are going to be placed next to this trigger card. Once there are cards equal to the trigger number, reality will shift from day to nightmarish, or vice versa. During the nightmarish reality, things are generally harder, more decrepit, more difficult and horrifying. The horror of the scene is enough to cause unease no matter who you are. Once the trigger shifts to the new reality, the encounter cards are going to go into the encounter discard. So we'll get back to the trigger card shortly and how it affects gameplay. For now, I'm going to go ahead and grab the encounter deck, which is actually 2 separate decks. The first deck is the level 1 encounters, and then we have the level 2/3 encounters. I'm going to go ahead and shuffle both of these separately, and then the level 1 deck is going to get placed on top of the other deck. This ensures that we'll get the early Silent Hill encounters before we venture into Midwich. Finally, we'll place the remaining weakness and upgrade cards aside. Also, the rest of the tokens we'll have close by, and now setup's complete. I'm ready to start. Now, the gameplay loop starts out the same way for each turn. I'm going to draw 2 encounters and decide which one I want to deal with for this round. A round lasts until the encounter is completed, win or lose, at which point a new round will start with a new encounter. Once I have the encounters in front of me, there's a few factors I'm going to want to keep in mind. I want to see what the reality trigger card is set to, as this is going to determine how difficult the initial target value is for this encounter. Once I've decided on which encounter I want to deal with, I'm going to place the other encounter card next to the trigger card. I'm also going to flip the trigger card if the number of cards equals or exceeds the number of the trigger. Also, if the encounter card is a level 2 or higher, I'm going to need to draw a monster modifier card. For a level 1 encounter, I have no monster modifier to draw, so I'm just going to go straight to drawing my free cards. Now, the level of the encounter is going to dictate how many free cards I get to draw. Since this is a level 1, I'll draw one single card and place it on the left-hand side of the encounter. So let's say that my first free card was Straight Shot. Now I can just stop drawing here. I've already hit the target value of 2. Then I'll place the played card into my discard face down, as well as flipping the encounter card 180 degrees, earning a new card from my mind deck, and then starting the loop over, where I draw 2 encounter cards and choose one to deal with. However, let's say I wasn't so fortunate, and my first draw happened to be a Fear card, which gives me 0 points towards completing the task. After I've drawn my 1 free card, I can now begin to spend stamina to draw new cards in the hopes of matching the target value. On the top of my mind deck is a Fortitude card, which provides me with 1 point. I pay 1 stamina and draw the Fortitude card, placing it on the right side of the encounter card to indicate that it's a paid card. Now, I can see the top card of my mind deck is a Lucky card, which will give me 1 more point, and that's just enough to match the target number and win the encounter. I guess I really was lucky after all. If I'm drawing cards, and I happen to run through my deck, I'm going to gain 1 experience point, and then reshuffle my discard into a new deck. The experience points may be spent later on to acquire upgrade cards, and also get rid of weakness cards. For the time being, I'll just gain the XP and then shuffle my deck, placing it face up. I may then continue to draw cards, whether I'm drawing free cards or paying for more cards. You may also spend 1 experience in order to gain 1 success. If I've completed an encounter that has any story significance, indicated by the shape in the top right hand corner, I'll go ahead and see if there's an appropriate space that it would apply to, and fill that space in with a marker. Once I've completely filled in all of the open spaces on the location card, I'm going to shuffle the Lizard boss card into the top 5 cards of the encounter deck. The boss will be treated like any other encounter, drawing free cards as well as paid cards and attempting to reach the target value. However, the boss cards will present you with a very powerful item or ability that you'll be able to slot into your deck immediately. When stamina's running low and the target number's feeling unreachable, it might be time to escape. I'll discard everything I've played, discard the encounter, and then pay stamina equal to the level of the encounter. If I run out of stamina, I'll take a hit. 2 hits and that's game over. If I do take a hit though, that'll allow me to reset the game state, shuffling my discard and deck together, refilling my weapons, and discarding the encounter, along with any cards next to the trigger card. Then, I'll draw 2 encounters and choose one or more. So, there's the game. It's got a lot of abstraction, but I find that it still feels pretty thematic. I plan to work on implementing more of the narrative aspect in soon, but I do like the descriptions that I wrote out for the encounter cards, and I like the different characters. The abilities do feel different and offer interesting and helpful benefits. I find the deck building to be really satisfying. I also like this story system where the story encounters are like these puzzle pieces that need to be put in place. But sometimes non-story encounters can give really helpful items, so it might be worth it to deviate. I like that I have the option to aggressively seek out the story, or I can maybe meander a little bit and just do some extra exploring. That's basically how I play the games. I might get injured doing it, but, at least it's my choice. I also like how, when I complete those level 1 encounters, I get to enter this school with like a whole new deck that's got a more dangerous aspect to it. Now there's these abstract monsters to deal with, and just a greater level of that flavor, that horror flavor. Well, that's about it for this video. Thanks for taking the time to check out my prototype. I also want to say that this game has been definitely inspired by Friedemann Friese's Friday, the solo card game that he created. I really like the mechanics he used in it, so I took a lot of inspiration from that when creating mine. And I just wanted to acknowledge that he definitely had a lot of influence.